Within minutes of the Paris tragedy, people gathered in cities all over the world, and what did they do? Well, they laid flowers, and they prayed, and they held hands, and they cried, and they held one another, and they sang Amazing Grace. But most poignantly, they lit candles. In the midst of all of that darkness, there is something in all of us that enables us to always challenge the darkness. A determination that the darkness will never win out. A determination that the darkness will not prevail. This is the message of Christmas. As we come together on this Christmas of 2015, we are all well aware that there is much darkness in our world. It's not just ISIL, but it is racism and inequality, poverty, hunger, depression, the tornadoes ripping through our middle of the country. The events of Paris and Colorado and California have threatened the light that we speak about this evening. Yet this night, we as a people gather as a people of hope, lighting candles to challenge the darkness. We believe in the Prince of Peace, and we shout out that in a world filled with darkness, there's hope. Our faith in the man who walked this earth 2,000 years ago enables us not to be overwhelmed by the evil that we see around us. Our faith, which brings us together in churches all over the world this evening, offers the world a community, a haven, a safe place where men and women who believe in tolerance and compassion, forgiveness and acceptance offer to our world an alternative to the darkness. Jose Moran is the custodian at the Holy Child of Jesus Church in Queens, New York. This is a true story. The Tuesday before Thanksgiving, he put the manger up in front of the church, and then he went to lunch. He came back about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and he heard the cry of a baby. He looked in the manger, and there was a child wrapped in blue towels. The child was so young that his umbilical cord was still sprouting from his belly. The pastor called 911. The baby was brought to the hospital where he weighed in just under 5 pounds. Surveillance video reportedly showed a young woman enter the church with a baby in her arms, but she left without the child. New York, like other states, has what's called a safe haven law. It permits parents to leave their infants in some safe place, a firehouse, a hospital, a church, without being charged with child abandonment. It opens the door for parents who may feel overwhelmed and burdened and unable to take care of their child to safely leave them with some confidence that they will be found, cared for, and eventually taken in by another family. This distraught mother, whose life was perhaps filled with darkness, she knew where to go. She left her child where she knew there would be hope and there would be light. What an amazing Christmas story. There's always hope. There's always light. And who are the purveyors of this hope and this light? We are. You and I, you and me, we are all the ones who must give hope and light to the world in this time. If we truly believe why we are here this evening, if we truly believe what we are celebrating, then each one of us is responsible to be hope and light during the darkest times of our world history. As we gather this evening, this Christmas Eve of 2015, we have many questions as to why our world is in such a state. We might wonder, we might ask the question, why would anyone want to join ISIS? There was a fascinating interview with a Dr. Scott Atran, an expert on terrorist groups, who really does shed some light on the question. Atran claims that we in the West don't really understand the lure of ISIS, that our experts tend to think that only psychopaths join terrorist groups, or we assume that if we just gave young people jobs and housing, that they would steer away from ISIS. But Dr. Atran says something much, much deeper is at work. So a journalist asked him, he said, so there's no way to win this social media war against ISIL? And listen to his reply. Yes, there is. And it's coming up with some kind of equally adventurous and glorious message that can give significance to these young people. And this, he said, I'm not hearing. At least in Western democracies, things have become sort of tired as young people become alienated from their leaders and no longer believe in them very much. And he asks the question, does anyone out there know of an adventurous and glorious message that can give significance to these young people? Does anybody out there know of an adventurous and glorious message that can give significance to these young people? That's our challenge. That's the challenge of Christianity this year, 2015. Our world needs an adventurous and glorious message of significance. And if we know why we're here this evening, we believe that one man 2,000 years ago brought this very kind of message to the world. A message of love and forgiveness, a message of compassion and tolerance, a message of hope and peace. This young Jewish man consistently challenged and championed. He championed the excluded. He washed the feet of the poor and the sick. But for some reason, this message is not being heard, and many young people are choosing a message of darkness and evil. I think we all realize we cannot wait, we must not wait for another 9/11 or Paris attack to light the candles of hope. Each one of us, if we confess to be followers of the Prince of Peace, each one of us must figure out how we can spread this adventurous and glorious message that brings us together this evening. A woman whose life was perhaps filled with darkness knew where there would be light. She found it in a faith-filled community. She knew that she would find a place warm and safe. 2,000 years ago, a young Jewish man presented us with an adventurous and glorious message that really has given significance to our world for centuries. So what is happening today? That unfortunately, many young people today are hearing a different message. Our world is tired. Our world needs to hear the message of this young Jewish man again. You and I need to spread this message to a very frightened world. If you remember, and it was all over the internet, a day or so after the Paris attacks, at a memorial service for the victims, a reporter from France's Petit Journal interviewed a father and son about the horror that just occurred. The little boy expressed terrible fear of all the mean people, and he pleaded with his father to leave France, to leave their home. And his father bent down and said, "But there are mean people everywhere." And he began to explain to the little boy why they light candles and why they have flowers. But the little boy argued that the flowers and the candles don't do anything. And then the father assured the little boy that the flowers and the candles protect them from the bad people. It's our way of fighting darkness, he told him. And then the reporter asked the little boy, "Do you feel better about this?" And he said, "Yes, because now I know there's hope." Minutes after that Paris attack, people gathered in cities all over the world. They prayed, they sang, they cried, they hugged, they lit candles, they placed flowers. On this Christmas night, we light candles and we place flowers all around us, in your homes. Our homes and our churches are filled with poinsettias, red and green flowers, that according to a Mexican legend, these flowers blossomed from the gift of a little boy who wanted to give something at Christmas. And he picked up some weeds and put them on the altar, and the weeds turned into the red and green flowers of the poinsettia. Let us pray this Christmas Eve that the weeds of violence we see all around us will be changed by some miracle, and the candles we light will be bright enough for all the young people of our world to see, to give them the challenge that there is a much more adventurous and glorious message that we have to share with them. We need to invite them to experience the real Prince of Peace. May we never stop lighting candles and placing flowers to fight the darkness around us.